Hello and welcome to the Simpit Live. We are here for another training day for the Sim Racing System series that we've been running and having so much fun with. Tomorrow's race, tomorrow and Friday's race, will be at Nurburgring GP. So we are here today for a little bit of attack the track and a little bit of a setup workshop for beginners. Again, we're not going to get into super advanced setup. We're just going to see what we can do to really improve upon the setup we built on week one and see if we can make it a little better and tailor it for this week's track. So I will apologize. I had a lot of things change. I was out of town, as everybody knows, so this show is really rushed. So I apologize. I'm a lot more prepared usually than I am today. We also had a little trouble with our chat, so you'll notice that the chat module has changed. We'll have to find out if we like that or not. And with that change meant I had to really set up all of my scenes for OBS. Anybody who's done any of the broadcasting side of sim racing knows what I'm talking about. And it meant that all of my audio mix and everything we had spent so much time and energy getting really nailed and wired or perfect is now up in the air again. So I hope I got things right. I am now sitting in the Porsche RSR 3-liter version in Assetto Corsa. Again, we're getting ready to run in tomorrow night's Sim Racing System series that will be at 6 o'clock. Same time as we're at right now is the race time tomorrow and another race on Friday. If you haven't joined us for that, I highly recommend it. All you need is a copy of Assetto Corsa and the DLC 1-car pack for this series. And then finally just a Sim Racing System account, which is free. So very little it takes to get in this other than just getting in and driving with us, and we always have a good time and some good races. I was not here last week. I got my trusty dog here with me, protecting me while I'm in my headphones talking to all of you. So again, today we're just going to do what we did 2 weeks ago. We're going to take some laps. We're going to just see what the car feels like, and we're going to just see about making some adjustments. But even if we don't make huge improvements in the setup, it'll give you an opportunity to get a good look at Nurburgring, and we can talk about the driving line, braking points, turn-in points, and all that good stuff, and turn this into a little bit of an attack the track as well. So I hope you enjoy what we have in store today. This is just one of many things we have going on at the Sim Pit. Right now, you can see I've actually made a wheel change, so things are going to be a little different. I'm not gonna use the shifter today. A lot of people talk about the shifter. And the reason I'm not using the shifter today is because I am on a completely different set of pedals, different wheel. I'm actually testing this wheel during the race. Hey, El Bucho, how you doing? Hello, Max. Thank you very much. Hello, everybody who joined us here today. Thank you very much for joining. So we will be using the new Sparco TSXW racer wheel with the Sparco rim, which as of now they're not selling available. I am working on a full-blown review, so maybe you saw the very long 3-hour 45-minute unboxing of that wheel, but I will have a very normal, very clinical, the way you expect from the Simpit review coming out very shortly. That's about midway right now. So we do have more of that kind of stuff just to fill you in, things I'm considering, things we're talking about and we've talked about in previous shows. Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Pacific time, we are going to do our first wind tunnel inspired, just straight up talk. I got one topic in mind I want to bring to the front and talk to everybody out there about, so maybe you'll join us Saturday for that. And it'll just be sort of open forum to talk about, do you believe the hype is the topic of the show, and we will get into that on Saturday, 10 a.m. I am also considering doing a daily morning show, 9 a.m. I might even start this tomorrow just to see how it goes over. But for a long time, I've been wanting to do the news, but I felt sort of silly getting on camera just to announce something small. Maybe the next 10 cars announced for Forza, for example. I think that if I do it for enough different topics each week or each day, that I don't mind firing up the cameras and doing that. I just didn't like it for just that one thing. So tomorrow we might start what I'm going to call the pit stop. It'll be the daily pit stop, 9 a.m., and we'll just cover the news that will be going on in sim racing that day. El Bucho, I hope so. We'll see. I've got a great relationship with the guys at Thrustmaster, so hopefully I'll get that wheel in a timely manner. Yes, I do have my iFlag. It's not on my computer. This week was the week of changing wheels, pedals, and everything on my rig. Usually on those days, button boxes and displays and things get taken off and then maybe put back on when I get near going back to racing mode for me. I'm always walking that line between the selfish side of me being a sim racer and wanting to get my rig dialed in for me, and then being the guy who does this and having it ready to do everything for you. So I was doing a test race today for something we're also trying on the live show, and I actually had to run in single screen to make that happen. So I will make whatever sacrifices it takes for the show. Beyond that, again, just if you're joining us, I see a few more people have come in. No announcement of the show. I'm not expecting a very big crowd. Maybe we'll be around long enough to pick a few more people, but we are here to do a setup shop for beginners. I do not claim to be an expert setup person. I'm pretty good at giving you the theory behind what all of the adjustments on the car can do, but when it comes to putting a whole package together, massaging it to get it just right for maximum of speed, I am probably not your guy. There are people who are much more advanced than I am when it comes to setup, but I think a lot of beginners out there struggle with just some of the basics and even knowing what some of the components do, and that's the kind of stuff we'll be focusing on our setup shop for beginners. And like I said, we'll also do Attack the Track. Nurburgring is a great track, one of my favorite tracks. I'm a big fan of basically anything that has elevation change and varying corners, and this track has a lot of that. And there are some sections that some people will find that they really like to drive, other sections they find that gives them a little bit of difficulty. So maybe you'll see what I do, and maybe you can improve your driving line. Hey, Hams, how you doing? Thank you, and thank you for that, Steam King. I did not know that. That's something, you know, I know just about every track. I mean, like, when I turn my first lap, I might go off track, but I can't claim that I don't know my way around Nürburgring. But I don't know every corner of every track in terms of by name, and even some of them have some extreme history. Ron, this is the Sparko. We're going to have a few interruptions from the dog as usual. Max, hey, buddy. I know you want to be heard and seen, but I'm doing a live broadcast here. The wheel is the Sparko TSXW racing wheel. This is basically the TS wheelbase. So you saw this on the TS PC, perhaps. Very similar base. A little more styling on this one, but very similar internally. And then it's got the Sparko wheel rim, which is, in my opinion, the nicest rim Thrustmaster's ever put together. So far it's been quite a pleasure. It does come with the T3 PA pedals, so that makes it a little bit different than the PC version, or the TS PC, which came with no pedals, and it is Xbox One compatible. So that's something else we're doing here, is informally testing that wheel. I've done a lot of driving in Assetto Corsa, Project Cars, iRacing, R-Factor with this wheel already. I've given it a little try, and we did do a 3-hour and 45-minute live unboxing where you could get a good look at up close at the wheel and all the installation, everything it took to get up and running. It was a very long show. I'll apologize, but it seems that a lot of people enjoyed going through what I go through when I get a boxed product. It's not as simple as just, hey, I like it. There's a lot of work to be done. So, with that said, hi, Last Gen. Welcome to the show. I'm going to go ahead and get in-game. And, oh, I left a graphic up. We don't want that graphic up all race, all stream. That would be really unfortunate. So let's go ahead and get rid of our image overlay. You can see I have a squeezed view. I'm running triple screens, as you can see right here in this camera view. And I am just giving you guys kind of a cropped down version as far as the live screen in the center. We do have our tire reader up in the top, so we can look at our tires, see what they're doing. And one other thing I'm going to double check and see if I can even do. I might have to do some trickery here. I didn't double check that I have a setup loaded. So I'm actually going to, bear with me, Spa is where we were. I'm going to start with that Spa setup. So I just loaded it, and now I'm going to go to Nürburgring. And I'm going to go ahead and just save it so we have a copy. And that means that we have all the tire tire pressures and other changes that we made to the car that we are very happy with. Overall, I was happy with the balance of the car. So I'm not looking to reinvent the wheel for a starting point. I'm going to go ahead and start with that. I'm now going to move this computer. Give me one moment. And I want to go ahead and get the chat a little bit bigger so I can see you guys while I'm driving. Alright, So, let's go ahead and just get out on track. You guys let me know if the audio mix is okay. At this point, like I said, I had to redo the whole stream and everything due to the chat problem, which, again, if you're just joining, you're seeing a new chat window. Alright, and now I see that I have absolutely no controls. That's unfortunate. So that means we're going to have to exit the game real quick. Sorry about that. We'll go ahead and put that graphic back on while I take care of this. And like I said, we're doing a lot of control changes. You know, it shows it all, but it got cleared out. You can see that it already had these assigned. Actually, you can't see now because Assetto Corsa is kind of funny about that. And clutch, invert. Bear with me, I'm almost done here, you guys. This is one of those things that kind of drives me nuts, is that every time I go to my rig, it's something different. Every time I go to my rig, I have a new problem or issue or something to overcome and deal with. Not a complaint as much as it just takes a little time, but when you change your entire system over every time you go to drive, that'll happen. Alright, let's make sure we have that setup loaded and get in the car. I'm just going to double check my stream, make sure everything looks good for you guys. Take that logo down. There we go. And now we're up and running. Sorry about that delay there. And does the wheel feel like a Formula rim because it looks big? This direction, yeah, it's 310 millimeters across, so that is about the size of like the Ferrari wheel rim, the Formula rim. That might be 300. It is bigger up and down, and it is flat across the top, which is a little different. It is a suede wheel. There's some padding. It's got a really nice grip feel, about 1.25 inches around in the grip areas. So there you go, and Willie, headset mic, move it around. Okay, Willie. Excuse me. Alright, so here we go. Let me get myself a little more volume so I can hear what's going on. That shouldn't affect you. And we're going to go ahead and just get warmed up and talk about Nurburgring just a little bit. We'll start with certain things. I mean, I'm not up to speed in this car. This is actually my very first lap in this car. Coming back from vacation, doing what I've been doing over the last few days. This is my first chance to drive Assetto since I returned. I am using the T3A pedals, which takes some getting used to if you're coming away from a load cell or a hydraulic pedal. So, before I really talk specifically... Oh, not going to do it. I'm trying to find my touch of the brake pedal right now with this sim. And then, whoa. And then what we'll do is we'll get warmed up and we'll talk about the braking points a little bit. Yeah, I agree. I actually like the size quite a bit. 310 is nice. 330 is a very big wheel on a sim rig. And you'll have to forgive me. I don't know every corner name. That wasn't the point of today's show. I know the layout of Nurburgring, so I'll be like, this is what I do here. Those of you watching who are big fans of this track and know more, please feel free to call them out for everybody else's education. Now, one thing, I wasn't here for last week, but in week 1, I really learned that coming off of last season in the MX-5, the Porsche is a lot harder to drive. It's you got to really finesse this car. I highly encourage you to have your own music. I would probably do the same thing. Alright, so here we are getting towards the back section of the track. This is one of the high-speed sections. Great passing spot. Coming off of this corner and up into braking for the final chicane. This is a good spot to easily outbrake people. Oh. We're trying to find our braking zones right now. So Right now, I'm not even worried about setup beyond identifying what the setup's doing good or bad. We had a decent car last week. That's what we're starting with this week. Coming into the final corner. I'm not going to talk specific braking zones, and I might even miss a few, but we'll talk about the layout as we come down the start-finish line. You can see our right front's not doing a whole lot of work. You got to brake a lot. You can't even see the turn. There's a little kink before the turn. It's a downhill entry, and that makes it even more difficult, and it's a very tight right-hander. A lot of people end up off the corner here. Very difficult corner. This left-hander is also very difficult because it takes a lot of patience to not get it. You can't see your way around that one either. Into this sharp corner, which gets very slippery, and this is where you're going to get an unbalanced moment with the car as you try to immediately turn back to the right. It's a delicate operation with the wheel and the gas pedal to get the car to pivot the way you want it to. This left-hander is pretty fast. You just need to set it up nicely. Not too much trouble there. This corner is really fun corner because it leads into the downhill. You got to be patient because it's a little off-cambered. You get on the gas too soon, it's easy to drive off it, but you can get a good run because of the downhill entry. And this corner is just a 180. Whoa, and I downshifted too early, sorry. That was all downshift right there. Might not even need second gear when you're doing it right. I don't know the max speed just yet. And this chicane will vary in car to car. Right now I'm taking it a little conservative on the first corner with a tap of the brake, setting up the exit. Looks like I could push it quite a bit more through there. I use this billboard as a warning sign about where I need to brake. Again, whoa, this car's braking is not as good as you'd like it to be at times. So obviously we're going to have to brake a little harder or earlier there for that corner. And again, great, thanks Hams. Thank you very much for letting me know that. Are those the corner names? Or I have the chat right there while I'm driving. And into the chicane. I'm sorry, I kind of stopped going. So, anyway, not bad there. A little break. This is a 180-degree turn. You definitely want to late apex it and get as good a run because it leads on to the longest straight. So, when we talk about the attack the track shows that I used to do, it was identifying the most important or critical corners. And to me, those are always the ones that lead onto a straightaway because getting a good run out of those corners is essential to a good lap time. So still broke a little bit early, but good and conservative there for turn one. I don't mind being slow and low and making that corner. Just a little tap of the brake, make apex. You got to be careful though. You do not want to go wide. It's really slippery out over there. Much better on this corner. I'm in third gear, a little too low. I probably should have dropped second. Again, it's that pendulum swinging of the ass. This heavy engined rear end on the Porsche makes that section very interesting. And this lefter, this one, there's just not a lot to talk about this corner. It's just a really straightforward left-hander. And this is a pretty straightforward right-hander, except for that off-camber and downhill exit. Leave it in third this time. Feels a little low. I think what I can do is shift into second mid-corner, just not under downshifting, and I'll be all right there. We'll try just getting off the gas. No touch of the brake this time. Oh. That might work. And we overshot this corner, so I'm going to brake harder. No problem. Our distance is good. And then this one is leading onto that back stretch. Most important corner, second most important corner, I'd say. Right there. So if you're looking to maximize track time, that is the second most important corner. Mainly focusing on the exit. Now we're coming into that chicane. Hard on the brakes. I've seen so many guys end up in the barrier here. When you get the line, you can jump these curbs pretty aggressively. Oh, not that aggressively. But you're going to have to be prepared to catch the car. And late apex, downshift to second, but not too early. I don't want to skip the rear end on this car at all by downshifting too early. And a good run out of the final corner for the long straightaway. And we've been a little timid. I'm braking really early for this corner. Still a little early, but that was not bad. I could have just shortened up the distance a little bit. That just a little scrub of the brake, let the car get to apex, and ease on the gas. Don't go too strong on that gas or it just won't turn and you'll end up wide. Drop it into second here this time. I'm not getting that first apex on that left, which is really important. So I got to tighten that line up as well. Still driving a little conservative. As far as the car handling goes, I think we did a really good job last week. There's not a lot of things that I'm like upset about on the car right now. At moments there's a little bit of oversteer, but not enough that I'd say it was problematic, because if we went any more oversteer we'd start to get understeer, which would just make us slow. A little more aggressive this time. See if we can not. Oh. I'm just being a little afraid to jerk on the wheels still. Alright, we're starting to get our apexes in order. Driving conservative, but to be honest with you, at times I'd like to just get the right driving line and then worry about bringing the speed up with each lap. I'm braking right there. That was a little bit later than the last two times, but I think with the driving right line, we're good. Whoa. Like I said, you can hit those curves, but you're going to have to catch the car. It is faster if you get it perfectly through there. And again, let's make sure we get a great late apex and a good run off the final corner. I'm going to go just a little bit deeper. Almost to that first sign. I was really only about 10 feet deeper. And that is about what you want to do there. Just like that. Now we're going to slow down a little more this time. I'm taking way too wide an entry for this corner. And I downshifted too late. There's that pendulum swing. You can't overdo it though, or it'll go right around on you. Okay, I can start to go much more aggressively on that corner as well. Trying to be very smooth on the wheel. That Mazda lets you get really erratic and kind of get away with it. Ah, Wolf, you just got to do the practice, man. That's all. Oh, got on the gas a little too early, preventing me from getting a good run. That's a pretty important corner exit, too. I mean, you get off the gas here, so that is the end of the straightaway run. Little bit of brake lock up there, you heard? Little early there. Oh, and that just put me wide, way too wide. All right, our braking up here has been good. I'm going to go right to the marker. We can definitely do that. So you can see I went just another 10 feet further to see. I'm thinking, which corners are we doing well on? Which corners are we being too fast or too slow? Turn 1, we did better last time. We could probably go another 5 or 10 feet. Niki Lauda. Everyone can learn from Niki Lauda. I'm also running in socks today because of these lightweight pedals. I normally run in shoes with heavier pedals, so I'm really in a fish out of water kind of moment today. All right, let's see if we can tighten this up right through here. There's really no need to go wide on that corner. Oh, but I just went a little too hard into the second part. It was still a little quicker than we've done other. Thank you, thank you. I don't know if I'm great at both. I can drive better when I'm not yapping. Better that time. Didn't make apex. Last time we steamrolled it. We're on a pretty decent lap, though. Heavy braking. Down to third. Down to second. A little too early on the second. Or I got to spike the gas a little more. It might not have been so early. Good run for the short stretch here. Still just getting off the gas. I'm not hitting the brake. Not even a scrub there. Not bad. This corner we've been pretty right on the money, so I'm not going to change much. And this corner, oh, a little curbing, but better than the last 2 laps around. Not a bad run. Again, second most important corner, in my opinion, is that one as far as overall lap time. And we'll go right to the sign again. Oh, I didn't get the brake down fast enough. I had to really slam it. So that's about as far as you're going to want to go. And again, here, that is the corner. Look at how long this straightaway is. All that speed starts with your exit from the final corner. Coca-Cola it was. And you can see how hard it is. You got that little kink into the braking zone and then a very tight corner. I see so many stack-ups there too, especially at the start of the race. That is a really tough spot. You want to really watch yourself around there at the beginning of the race. Oh, a little too hot, a little too hot. I admittedly downshifted early. I'm having a hard time with that right. And if you think about it, it's a little more important than getting out of that first section first. So that's what I'm going to improve on, is I don't care if I scrub the middle section at left, right. I have to make the exit better. So again, when you're wondering why you're off the pace, usually it's not under braking. It's usually from this moment out. Whoa, that downshift won't. It's that moment out. It is how good you get off the corner that is really going to be affecting your lap times when you really get to compare. You can only save so much, milliseconds, under braking. It's mid-corner speed. From right there is where the time is really made. Right there. Right there. All right, we're getting a little gas warning. Hopefully we'll get a good read on gas mileage. We'll have to try to figure out how many laps the race will be and make some changes there. Oh, too hot, too hot. That's the other thing. If you're struggling in sim racing and you are late in a corner, you're better off just going late into the corner hard on the brake than trying to make the turn if you know you're too fast. I agree. I like the more dangerous track. Oh, we really got we got our braking done really early that time. And that's the kind of stuff that always throws me as a driver. I think I have my braking zone and then I go deeper and I get my braking. Oh, come on. That was terrible, Sean. Trying to talk a little too much. Better, but I still wanted to be down at that apex. That was the corner we were really trying to improve on this lap by. The other thing you'll notice about the Porsche, if you're new to this car, it actually has a, like the Mazda, it has a really good mid-speed cornering ability. But you need to let the car kind of roll and coast a little bit. You got to be a little patient. Too heavy on the braking, even under trail braking. This car does like to go around. Getting on the gas hard, it's torquey. It will go around, but it will corner on rails when you let it, when you get it balanced. Whoa, when you get all four wheels working together. Off track. All right. Let's go ahead and go take a look at things and talk about it. We'll see if we got enough of a reading to get a fuel mileage. And we'll go from there. Now, I believe when I go into the pits, you guys are not going to see what I'm doing. That's something I'm going to work on. No, you will see me. We're still in the game. I'm sorry. It's just when I go into the menus. So, gearing. You know, I wasn't sensitive enough to see if we were revving it out. I think we are not revving it out. So that's something we can look into to get a little bit more overall top-end speed on the long straight. I'm pretty sure we are nowhere near running it out. Our tire temps, we started off with 27 PSI. That was based on what we learned last week. And right now, looking at things, our tire looks pretty good. We're a little colder on the outside edges than the inside edge, so you can see that camber working a little harder. When you look and see, well, it kind of varies from tire to tire. But what I am seeing, and I like to see, is how close my numbers are all the way around the car. So if I just go to the middle temperature on each tire, you can see here, 72 versus 72, pretty even gain. And then 71, 76, a little more split. But the balance front to rear is pretty good. So when I talked about what we did last week and how good I felt about the car, really, much better about the car than my driving ability, is partly into that. When you have good balance, you're going to see it reflected in the tire temperatures. Looking at fuel, it's estimating at 24 liters is going to give us 10.5 laps, which they're estimating is 27 minutes. It's a 20-minute race, so we're going to be able to drop a little bit of fuel. Look at our lap times real quick. 2:22 was the best lap, it looks like. So, do some math. 10 laps is going to be a little over 20 minutes. 9 laps at 2:22. So, every 3 laps is 4 minutes. So, 6 laps would be 8. 12 laps would be 16. And 11. Nope, I think I'm not going to lower the fuel anymore, to be honest with you. I think that's going to work out just right. That is kind of close. Last week we were pretty close on gas, so I think that's good enough. Alignment. Do we want any more front camber? Now, if I were to add more negative camber right now, the best description I can give you on camber is negative camber is tilting the tops inward. The more I do this, the more the inside. So a tire is square. Let me make a tire shape real quick. So let's just say that's our tire. We're looking at it from the back. This is the ground. When I add negative camber, I tilt the top of the tire inward, and that puts the bottom of the tire outward. And you can see it's lift the outer edge. And that's why when we look at our tire temperatures, you can see our inside on our right front is 73, and our outside is 70. The inside edge is wearing hotter. It's being worn more than the outer edge. Now, a car, because of the way it moves its suspension, it goes up and down, you need negative camber to get the tires really working their best. Also, the more you can put it on that edge, the more it will grip to a point within reason. And then body roll and weight will flex the tire and keep it on the ground for the most part. Now, if I add negative camber, more negative camber, to a point, it will give me more front end grip. So when I go to turn in, how much is that car going to rotate and really bite? Now, before you go changing camber, which a lot of people just run through the setup shop and just start changing things. Oh, let's try this. Let's try this. For me, I like to make changes based on what I want. Right now, I'm having no trouble with turn-in. There are very few corners where I feel like I'm plowing straight ahead. So I don't want to do that. And Hams just mentioned another good point. The more I put it up on the edge, on straightaways especially, the more it's on just a very thin contact patch of the ground, which is going to give me less resistance, which also transmits into less braking power. The more meat, the more tire, the more contact patch I get on the ground, the stronger the braking is. And so, same thing with the camber. So, getting back to our negative camber, I just want you to know how it fully works. So this is my left front tire, and I'm going to make a right turn. When I make a right turn, the body weight of the car goes left, and it actually dips the car onto the suspension, which actually flattens out the tire. Now, if I had that tire flat, and we went into the corner and started to roll, it would actually put it up onto the outer edge and remove all of this rubber from the road. Even when I'm here, it flexes it to flat, but all the forces are tearing that tire, ripping it towards the ground, getting as much contact patch on the ground. But again, it works against us in braking. So right now, with everything we said, corner entry, I'm happy with turn in. If I wasn't, you'd see me just going straight off the corners or turning in and seeing the car just kind of drift on four wheels. Or it's not doing any of that. It's actually pivoting really nice. And at the same time, I'm not over pivoting. Most of the time, the car is going around too much. It's a result of me locking up on downshifts or just overdoing trail braking and loading up the front. So right now, in other words, I'm very happy with my camber. That's not something I'm going to change. Dampers. Now, when you're doing your setup changes, whether you're following along with me or just doing this in general, in my opinion, dampers, bump and rebound, are the last thing you really want to adjust. These are a very small change compared to spring rates, compared to even sway bars or other changes you can make. This is how you can make just some fine adjustments. So when you're doing basic setup for beginners, I would urge you, stay away from the dampers. They're not the reason you're winning or losing or getting a comfortable setup. It's the overall balance, and that's just a minor tweak. Drivetrain. Diff power and diff coast are going to affect how tight the rear end is locked up. And I know a lot of this is going to be a little repetitive, because if we do this each week, we'll kind of talk about the same systems. But what I want you to do is, with me, be looking at the way the car drove. And if we're going to be making a change, let's make it a change based on improving the car, not just guessing at the result that we'll get from changes. Now, the differential power is how locked up the rear end is. The differential is what ties the two rear wheels together, so the drive wheels. So without a differential, the inside tire would be spinning as fast as the outside tire, doing a circle, going a much shorter distance. The differential allows them to turn at the needed rate together. Hey, Devin the Biz, and hey, John, you're welcome. By making it tighter together, I actually make the car looser on exit. So if I was having a lot of trouble putting the power down, I can loosen up the differential power. The coast is when you're getting off the gas. How locked up is the differential on coasting? And when you talk to aliens and you know what they do, they use the rear end and how much it pivots the car when they get off the throttle to turn into the corner. Now, for us lower level guys, that's a lot of car to really handle. And hey, Dennis, okay, Dennis Brember. But that's what we would do there. Now, I'm going through a lot of these because, to be honest with you, right now, I'm really happy with the car. Brake power. So, if I was massively locking them up, I could make an adjustment to the brake power. My lockup right now is perfectly tied in with my brake pedal. So that's something else. Brake bias, if I'm locking up the fronts, then I can move the bias back rearward. 60-40, Sean? I'm willing to try that. I could definitely handle a little more 60, 40, 60 power, 40 coast, so reverse it. No one says it like I do. Dennis Brembor. That's because we have, I think, a Brembo. So, Brembor. Sorry. And then suspension. So, ride height. I didn't hear any bottoming out. You always want to get the car about as low as you can get it. So, that's something we can start to do with when we're just looking for overall speed. And then pit stop strategy. We're not going to worry about that right now. So, one thing, we're going to go ahead and take that one recommendation. We're going to go to 60, which is going to give it a little bit more loose on throttle. And we're going to go to 40 on coast, which is going to make it a little tighter under braking. And the reason I went ahead and went with that is if you really think about watching what's been going on, I've had a few dicey moments on braking. Car was kind of doing a little dance. So this might help that out. On the power side, we'll have to see if I have the driving skill. We might have to bring that back down if we find it too loopy. Now, the other thing, if you're a beginner, especially in setup, I highly recommend that you do not make a ton of changes. You want to see and be mindful of what the changes you've made did to the car and whether they proved positive or negative. So what I'm going to do is save this as a second version, because the first one was really the one we made for week 1, and it was for Spa. That's the other thing you can think about when we talk about like ride height. On a car that has a lot of elevation change, you're generally speaking going to have to leave a little bit more ride height to protect it under braking. Because if you're doing a braking and there's a change in elevation, it's going to throw the car down even harder. On a perfectly flat track, you can get away with very, very low ride height. And then obviously how much we hit the curbs. So one of my difficulties right now is that I've been steamrolling some curbs, and it's upsetting the car. If I made my ride height lower, it would make that even more problematic. And that's always going to be a balancing act. Hey, Travis from Texas. How you doing? Awesome. And watching in Oklahoma. That reminds me of Saving Private Ryan. And this is Tex from Oklahoma. And, hey, Max. If you want to say hi, come say hi, but don't just bark. All right, let's go out with that differential change and see if we can improve. I'm still getting better in terms of my driving line, so that also will always be a factor. When you're a beginner, let's face it, if every lap you're doing something different, it's a little bit hard to make changes. Yeah, this car is a handful, you know, in a really good, fun way, in my opinion. I got your dogs barking. Sorry, mine would do the same if we were reversed. I love my dog. He's a great dog, but he likes to just bark at everything. So we made that change. So what we're being sensitive to is right here when we get off and we touch that brake. Is the car staying in line more, or is it pivoting more? The change should have made it pivot less. Not right there. This is in that coasting or off the gas moment. Now, under acceleration is when we affected that differential power. We tightened it up. We made it so that inside wheel is having a harder time spinning freely. Oh, I didn't brake enough for that. So we want to see, is that causing too much throttle oversteer, essentially? I can tell you under the coast seems to be right. I like that coast of 40. It's right there that it could be a problem. Right there we could end up a little tight. But that's when you get back to there's so many things you can do to a car. And we'll discuss that in a moment. I'll finish that thought. At off camber right there, you see that corner leans out. You see a corner that leans out instead of leaning up or in. And you have to respect that. It is trying to throw you off the corner, essentially. Off-camber corners are the hardest corners there are. I have my pedal, by the way, all the way to the floor. And I'm getting no lockup whatsoever. So when we talk about that brake pressure 95, it is really working out. Late apex, most important corner. Got to get a really good run off. Get that power back on as fast as you can. Get the car straightened out as fast as you can. Same thing here. This is a tougher braking section because we kind of aren't really perfectly straight at first. That was all downshift right there. I downshifted second too early. Locked up the rear end. And you got to be just sensitive to your mistakes as a driver and not blame the car. Again, you see me, I'm getting a little bit of oversteer right there under braking. But I think that's me overdoing the braking again. Yeah. The shifter is on hold because I am using a new wheel. So this is the new Thrustmaster TSXW wheel. I didn't need that downshift. I was just so late on the corner. Whoa. Sorry, I'm trying to read your comment. Yeah, Dennis, when I did week 1, switching from the Mazda to this, after switching the H pattern on the Mazda, this car was very temperamental without proper clutch work. And so I was like, well, I'm going to have to heel toe. So I left that for this week. And then this wheel showed up and I had to change my whole rig around. Yeah, so this is the new Xbox compatible TS base. So if you think about it, that TS-PC was a PC only. We know of the TGT coming for Gran Turismo, which will be PlayStation 4 compatible. And then this one came out with Xbox One compatibility. This kit is $649, and it includes the pedal set, the T3PA pedals, versus the TS-PC did not come with a pedal set. Both of them come with a proprietary as of now wheel. So the wheel rim that was on the TS-PC was unique to that, and you could not... Oh, see, I'm very interested. I'm getting a little... That's me with the brake pedal. I don't think that's that diff. It's not a bad life. I admit. It's hard work. I work a lot. And I don't make very much at all. But it is not a bad life, I will say. Now this wheel rim, the Sparco one, that's what makes this unique. The base is not identical. You can see there's some metallic up here, a little more styling. And this Sparco 310, it's the P310 competition they call it, is my favorite Thrustmaster wheel rim ever. Much better through that. You can look at how much our time gap is going up. That was my best run off that second corner of the chicane, or the left-right. And what I'm trying to do today is both set up and attack the track. I need to be making every apex. Thank you very much. I'm using the T3PA pedals and socks. I haven't driven in socks in... I don't even remember the last time I drove in socks. Late apex for that. You can go ahead and take the wide entry. Logitech work. They get the job done. A little too early on that gas coming off of the left. Alright, let's talk about braking zone turn-in points. I'm braking right after I go through that bridge. Off the gas. And turning in. I mean off the brake. When I said off the gas, I meant brake. I am trail braking the car. I don't know. In theory, it could be, but who's to say? You know, will it do what it says it's going to do? Will it, you know, who knows? What will it cost? I still haven't heard a firm price on the cost. It's really hard. I'm still right now struggling with the brake pedal, admittedly, and I don't even think you can blame Thrustmaster for that. Alright, new PB down to 219.8. Still leaving a lot there. I don't mind being a little conservative. It's a really problematic corner for a lot of people. So of all the corners on this track, that's one that if I leave a little on extra, I'm not worried. This is the corner though. Right here, this section is responsible for a lot of time on the lap. And getting it right is very difficult. Much better. Much better. Did a lot of throttle steering right there, and that tighter differential helped me do that. But it also is going to make the car a little more sensitive, a little more finicky off corner. Didn't slow it down enough for that. You got to recognize, again, off camber downhill. And, late, but that's going to be okay, because look, we're going to make the apex on the gas. Just getting off the gas, no brake. Don't want to ride that inner curb too much or it'll throw you over there. As soon as you've made that left, you can get back on the gas. Just after the brake hard. Just after the bridge. And I turned in a little too early that time. Downhill off camber. Respect it. I got too much turn in, too much brake. And you can see I made a bad exit. And you can see me just dropping time. Just lost all of that. Real catch me moment. Way too conservative there, but we already lost that lap, so might as well focus on our exit. Car looks like a train. I'm not sure quite what that means. Like it's on rails? I agree. It's driving very well. Took it right to that first brake marker. Oh, went way too wide. You don't even need to do that there. I had to get off the gas early, so I didn't do the brake, but you do not have to go that wide on that corner. You're just wasting and making the track longer than it needs to be. It's right there when you get on the gas, getting the car not to do anything weird right there. Not bad. Again, I'm overall very happy with the car. The one thing I would still try is, can we drop it down to the ground a little bit more? If we can bring it down to the ground a little more and stay off the curbing, we might get better mid-corner speed. Might get a little bit more aero advantage. Doing the chat during the race. Text to voice. I gotcha. Left it in third that time. And what, having my text appear in the chat with you guys? Is that what you're talking about? So again, if you're watching this, I urge you, please join us on Sim Racing System tomorrow night at 6 o'clock. We'll be racing this car, this track on Assetto Corsa. Sim Racing System is free. Oh, we're at, I gotcha. That's not a bad idea. I'll look into that. I'll try it out. I could also put my new chat window right there and see it while I'm driving. Kind of be a distraction, of course, but all right, let's try to get a good lap now. I've been talking, not focusing. Right to the first brake marker. All the way to the floor gets me a little lockup, but that is the fastest point. And we are not revving this thing out too much. Go. Slow it down, slow it down. That is, for me, historically, that corner has been the hardest corner on the track for me. Oh, only during not during a race. Almost turned in too early, and I was on the inside. I didn't set that corner up right. Can't use the same turn-in spot. Late. I totally missed my braking zone. Shoot. This car having bumps. Don't want to open AC. You mean like bump stops in the shocks? Do you mean that? In the springs? Excuse me. Alright, let's go back to the pits. I want to go ahead and bring this thing down a little bit. That's the one thing we didn't explore last year, or last week, or last setup shop. And we're still running at ride height that is exactly what the game provided. Now, if I lower the front more, it's going to make the nose heavier, essentially. Put more weight on the front. If I lower the rear more, which is going to make it looser, essentially. If I lower the rear more, it's going to do the same thing. Put a little more weight on the rear end, and in theory, make it overall a little bit tighter. Now, what on a corner exit, especially about doing that. So what I really want to do, it's way too nervous on hard braking zones. Yes, I agree. It is still a little tough on hard braking zones. Not outrageously, and I think maybe a little more front sway bar might help that just a little bit. It might be just a little of that. Anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take it down equally all the way around because I don't want to change the balance of the car at all. I'm really happy with the overall balance, and again, when we look at our tire temperatures, we can see that we have a good balance. We're 64 middle temp in the rear, 66. So you can see we're starting to run our fronts a little hotter than our rears now. Werner, that is something that I will do probably in the future. Right now, I'm just trying to keep things to the very basics for people who are just kind of starting out in sim racing or trying to join us in this series. And getting into Motec gets into, you know, some of that engineering stuff. And I think we'll get there eventually. And I might even bring in a specialist, somebody who's more of an expert on Motec than myself. And what I said at the beginning of the show is I don't claim to be a setup expert, but I do understand what the parts of the car do. So I'm good at explaining it. I'm just not the best race engineer in the world. Not an excuse to not use Motec, by the way, because you don't have to be a race engineer to do it. Anyway, I'm going to take this down 3 clicks all the way around. I liked the differential changes. We are still a little bit nervous under braking, but not too much. So right now I'm just going to go by feeling and sound to find out if our wheel rate, and bringing it down 3 clicks isn't the biggest difference in the world, but it might just make the car a little bit more overall stiff and give it a little bit more cornering speed mid-corner and a little bit more, just a little, again, stiffer. It's going to be a little tighter sprung sitting down that low. The other thing I wanted to do was go to the gearing. And let's go ahead and try to make a gearing change. It might be too radical to do an overall. And forgive me on ratios, but I believe that I do want to go down 737. So I only have 2 gear sets to choose from on the final gear in this car. Yes, and that would make sense, Dennis. So let's talk about Dennis's comment here. He's talking about running soft front springs and rear... I'm sorry. Harder front springs and softer rear springs. And again, we're dealing with this car that under braking really likes to dance. That rear engine's heavy, but once it starts to lift up, it's a lot of weight that's kind of moving around up there. And I think that doing that can also do that. Maybe check the camber again since you lowered. Good point. Is it going to give us our functional camber? Yeah, so it is giving us a live camber. Anyone know offhand before I go try it, is 737 going to just completely be not enough gear? If we get an answer on that, we don't even have to try it. Then what I would probably do is just see if we can make a small adjustment to 5th gear. to rev it out just a little bit more. So the camber, we had about a 2 to 3 degree split inside to outside temperature. So as far as if we're going to come back in and see if we have a change in temperature from camber change from lowering. So again, when we talked about camber, the lower I dip the car, the more it's going to camber those tires in. You think of like a dune buggy, and when the suspension goes down, those front tires go like that. That's just the action of the A-arms. When they start to pivot, you're going to get that kind of an action. When we lower the car, we're creating that kind of an action. So we basically put more negative camber front and rear by lowering the car. If we are really happy with everything, we actually would want to put the car back and not change that. So what Sean is saying, and again, this is why I like doing this with you guys, a setup, you got to think about it in this like Rubik's Cube kind of way. It's not just trying to get the green square, it's trying to get all 6. And when we just go do something like make an adjustment to the ride height, we functionally change. So right now, I'm just going to take a look. And again, forgive me for not, being a little more ahead of the game here, but I wanted you to do this with me. When we go back up to 30 on the front, it changed the camber to 213 on the right, 219 on the left. Not sure how much it's bouncing the car. Like if you in real life make a camber change, you'll then bounce or jaunts the car, and then you would actually recheck your camber. 213, 218. Let me see if it's, I'm not sure if this is active and live. We might have to turn some laps. Yeah, so you can see it dropped it down. Now we're at minus 221 and minus 215. So it did exactly as we'd expect, and it did increase our negative camber. So if we really want to make things perfect, we could then put one more click on and go to, whoops, that one was at 2. I'm going the wrong way. Go to 19, and that puts us to minus 1.96. So now we're flatter than we were before. And that's something, again, we're going to play with. Some of the setups I've looked. Okay, let's try that too. I'm going to go back to the camber we had at 2.0 and go ahead and take that little bit of mini increase in negative camber that we took on. And we're going to go ahead and go to gearing, and we'll give that ratio a try. So we're at 737. And again, what I'm going to do, and this is, in a perfect world, I'd be taking some notes. I'd have a notepad out, be writing down tire temperatures, writing down thoughts that I had as the driver. Was it, we made that change in the differential. So my notes should now reflect change differential to 40 coast, 60 power. Felt good, felt better under braking, but still squirrely. Felt fine on corner exit. So ultimately, the improvement changed things for the better, and we're going to carry it forward. Now we need to know, hey, we made some ride height changes. That did make a camber change. We made some gearing changes. How is that going to affect us moving forward? So I'm going to change this to setup 3, SMC. My middle name's Michael, Sean Michael Cole, SMC3, and I'm going to hit save to make sure we have our third version. Now, the first one, we already improved on that. I could delete it. I'm not going to do that just yet, and that was actually our setup from Spa. 2 is the one that made some improvements, made it better, and 3 is the one we're now trying out. And let's see, if you need a bit more feel for the brake zones, take the front bumps to 8 or 9, but you need to manage agility on another point. And yeah, and I've been kind of leaving damper around until we're a little happier with the car to do some of those little fine tweaks, and that's what I was telling people earlier. It's like you're not making a major change, you're making a minor tweak. Cool. Sean, I'm really glad you're enjoying it. I'm trying to do more, trying to find a good balance. Thank you, Steam. Between live shows, training shows, informative shows, and like the reviews. So again, in the background, I'm still working on the review of this, and that'll be the more clinical show that most people know about. Let's go ahead and try these changes. I'm going to keep today's show a little under control as far as time goes. We're already at an hour 7, but I've been doing a lot of streams, and I'm way behind coming off of that working vacation last week. But I do want to try to get these available so you guys can be encouraged to hopefully join us tomorrow and Friday night in our 6 p.m. race. This is the combo we're racing. Assetto Corsa, Porsche Carrera RSR 3-liter. Great car from the 70s. One of the coolest cars ever made, in my opinion. And running Thursday and Friday night at 6 o'clock on Sim Racing System. All you need is Assetto Corsa. You need the Dream Pack that has the Porsche Carrera in it. And Sim Racing System is free, so there's not a lot to get involved with this. I can guarantee you we're going to do another season next year, so this is week 3 coming up of a 6-week season, and we will continue. Here, I'm going to... Sorry, I not just check something there. So next season, I don't know what car and season we're going to run in terms of tracks. I'm always open. Just about everything. I give you guys my email all the time. Sean, S-H-A-U-N, @thesimpit.com. You have ideas for shows, topics you'd like me to cover, questions you have about our industry. Don't be shy. Way too late on braking. I somehow have changed my braking zone on that, and I think that's me as the driver, not the setup. Racer record. Break the 100 racer record. What's that? What's that, Dennis? Been very happy with our braking spot. Right here, just after the bridge. Hard on the brake. Let it roll through this corner nicely. Get on the gas. Brake a little early. Late entry with this off-cambered corner and trying to get a good run leading onto the backstretch. Second most important corner on the track. Let's always be mindful of what's most sacred. And oh, wow. Sorry about that, you guys. So that's that 737 gearing threw me for a loop. I actually thought I had to shift again. But I don't have a 6th gear in this car. That's a good question, Wolf. Alright, here's where we're going to get a good look at that gearing. Let's see if we run this thing right out of it. Yeah, one of the Ferraris. I agree. I like that sound. Oh, I did it again. I tried to shift. Well, we were up into the red, but I did not hear it run out of gear. Now, you can see how much that is. No, I don't want to do the Expo. I'd like to keep it to something more proper race car. The gearing is changing everything. So you see I had to get 4th there. It's also kind of throwing me for a loop as I'm getting through the gears that much quicker. But we did rev the car out on that straightaway. We're going to have to get a better run off the final corner. Coca-Cola. If we all have that name right. And that will really let us judge it. You press the stop to start. Hey, if enough people send me a response requesting that car, I'll go with majority rules. Lotus 49. I'd like that. That might be a little difficult for a lot of people. It's a hard car to drive. My gearing has changed right there. I'm a little not 100% sure certain corners right now. We're going to have to make some adjustments. When we change the final drive, that's changing the gear ratio for everything versus changing one gear. So when we made that change, it changed the RPM point for every single gear. That seems to be about the fastest spot on the track, even though the other one's a longer straightaway. GT86, I like that idea. Anybody who doesn't know, that is a Toyota Corolla. The AE86 is a really loved car, especially in the drifting world. It's a tiny, tiny little front engine, rear wheel drive car. Oh, GT86, not AE86. Alright, we've improved. I keep trying to shift right there. Oh, that's what I was talking about earlier. First time I made that mistake. That little kink into turn 1 can be very confusing sometimes. Now this gearing might let me leave it in third right here. 787, that would be a good choice as well. We still have 3 weeks to decide, and then we'll also have to decide tracks. The A-bars. You know, slow cars are fun, though. We had a lot of fun in the Mazda. I'm liking the ride height. I'm not feeling us bottoming out. Oh, it definitely made the car a little tighter. I believe the gearing change actually is going to keep us in the power band a little better. When I get used to the gears for the corners, that'll even pay us bigger dividend than it is now. 1930s Alpha. Yeah, that would be cool. Are we going to run out of gear? Nope. Felt like we were a couple miles an hour quicker. Oh, I threw it into that too hard. I can leave it in third gear on that corner. That felt fine. Little off our pace, but not bad. You can see how quickly the car recovered. We are going faster. You can see it right there on the time that we went from slow exit on the final corner to actually catching up with our best lap time. Getting it to not oversteer right there and then not getting it to go too slow at the same time is tricky. Like I said, that is the hardest part for me to get right every lap, is that little left-right chicane. Hey, Crab. How you doing? Oh, didn't want to do that. Ride height isn't helping us there. Lower we make the car, the more we have to be very careful about the curbing. And I took the wrong line there, just not thinking right. That was just all me being stupid. So right now what I'm seeing is a car that has a potential of being better. There's nothing we did that caused an ill effect where I'm like, oh, that's worse. So what we've done is improve the car. What I need to do is drive it better and take advantage of those changes. But it's showing us telltale signs here and there that we've improved things. I'm going to move that chat so I can see it. Ah. Finally got into the chicane good, and I got too greedy. Alright, let's do a good lap. Let's try to do a good lap. And again, I apologize, I'm not using the H pattern. I'm going to bring that online, but testing a new wheel, I really didn't feel like I wanted to use their paddle shifters. This wheel is part of the ecosystem, so it'd work with this TH shifter, but that's not how the wheel comes. So I want to really use the paddle shifters as much as I can during my testing phase for the wheels review. Oh, I looked up at that and I'm driving off the track. Oh, too much brake. How can you make it more comfortable without buying a new one? Memory foam. Stick some memory foam underneath the cushion so it still looks good. That's what I would do. You can get it at any home store, Walmart even. Ooh, a little later on the braking than I've been doing. Probably manageable. Wrong gear. That's the hardest thing I've been dealing with is the gearing change. It's got my timing really out of whack. Another thing we'll have to look at is our fuel mileage. This is going to change our fuel mileage for sure. It's going to give us better pull though. So when we are getting competitive with somebody racing off the line, we should have a little more bite. Alright, another average lap. We haven't improved, but this is one of those things you gotta like think as a driver. Is there an improvement? Is the car doing better? Am I just not nailing my laps? Am I talking too much? And that's, you know, to be fair to the crew chief, to be fair to the setup. You know, as a driver, I tend to drive around the problems of the car, which will hide problems so I don't know what to fix. And as a crew chief, I hope my driver drives it right so I can get a good reading. I didn't really do enough laps, it looks like, judging by our temps. We didn't really get things heated up. In theory, being a little bit lower will cool the tires down just a little bit as well. Or could allow them to work better, which might not heat them up as much. As much as we could go on and on and on, we are coming up on an hour, 20 minutes for this viewing. I want to make this setup available to everybody. We could continue to make it better and keep working it, make this 2-3 hour long, but I have to admit I'm a little on the tired side with everything going on. So, enough said there. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this setup tomorrow's race. I'm happy with it overall. I want to double check our fuel. It's saying we're going to get 38 minutes, but it's giving us the same amount of laps. I'm not going to change my fuel. That's something that what I need to do is after tomorrow's race, see if I can improve on that. You know, so at the end of the race, I should be mindful of how much fuel I have. 24-hour stream. No, I couldn't do that. I have to sleep. I do have to sleep. But I am thinking of starting, if you guys join late, a couple new things in the works, just so you all know. You're here with me live, so I'll give you the heads up. Tomorrow at 6 o'clock, we'll have the stream of the race that we just practiced for. Friday, we'll have a 6 o'clock stream. These are all Pacific Coast West Coast Pacific Time, USA. 6 p.m. tomorrow, 6 p.m. Friday. 10 a.m. Saturday, we're going to try something new. This is going to be my Dave Despain-inspired wind tunnel show. We're going to just talk about one topic, maybe a second topic, but just talk about things in sim racing that need to be addressed and talked about. Could be why are the aliens so good? Could be what do we expect of the new direct drive wheels? It could be, in the case of this Saturday, do you believe the hype? There is so much marketing campaign, blitz, whatever you want to call it, guerrilla marketing going on right now when you look at project cars, Forza, Gran Turismo. I'll even include what we just saw from F1 2017 now that it's been released. But the same thing, dev blogs every week, releases, little tidbits of information. They think that we're sitting on the edge of our seat waiting to hear the next 10 cars coming out of Forza or Gran Turismo. Is that a big deal? Is it too much? Is there a point where they cross the line? Don't answer these questions now. This is the topic for Saturday, and this is something that we want to talk about together and really bring in the pros and cons. Some of it's got to be good. Some of it's got to be bad. Some of it's maybe neutral or meh. We don't necessarily care. But we're going to do that Saturday morning at 10 a.m. And then lastly, I think tomorrow at 9 a.m., I'm going to give this a shot. I think we're going to start covering the news. I'll just fire up the news, go through all the big websites, Twitter feeds of all the sim industry. You just named a few: Forza, Gran Turismo, iRacing, Assetto Corsa, R-Factor 2, all of those companies, and just see who has something new. Maybe we will talk about just the marketing. Maybe it will be just talking about the new 10 cars. But again, it's a good topic. Maybe these cars are cool. I mean, sometimes Forza throws you for a loop. It's the new VW van. Do you care? Maybe not. My mom had a VW van when I was a kid, so I always kind of loved the VW van. For me, it would be kind of cool. Will I race it a lot? No. But sometimes it is neat seeing some of the cars, but sometimes when it's just another car, it seems a little repetitive. But we will do that as well. And that's for Saturday. We'll talk about, do you believe the hype? Tomorrow will be news at 9 a.m. We'll follow that up with news Friday. And if this goes well, people enjoy the news shows, we'll keep those going. Maybe we can do that a regular thing Monday through Friday. Do the live wind tunnel inspired show on Saturday. I think we're going to call the news the pit stop. That's what we'll do Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. And I still haven't come up with a name for the talk show on Saturday, talk show, whatever you want to call it. But again, we will have our Sim Racing Systems race tomorrow night at 6 and Friday night at 6. And that's the main thing why we're here today. And I hope you'll join us. If you go to the forum at the Simpit, I will put the setup that I've made today in the forum. There will be 2 files. You just need to put them into your setups folder in your Assetto Corsa, and you'll be able to use those setups as well. I'm not going to make any more changes. So, the pit crew. Let me write that one down. I kind of like that. Maybe that's good because I want to involve you guys as much as me, and therefore it's about the crew. And that's what we all are. So yeah, what we'll do is we'll get that tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Hopefully you'll join us. If not, it'll be up on the site. You can check it out. And I will make the setups available in the website. So please go download them if you want to race with us. And they'll be just in the forum under Racing Schools, I believe is the heading. And if you have any trouble with that, email me at Sean, SHAUN, @thesimpit.com, and I'll make sure you get all set up. Any questions you have about the industry, feel free to give me a call. And most importantly, any questions or ideas or topics you have for shows that we should cover, whether it's a live show or a full review or even a DIY project. I am always ears. I love you guys. Have some great ideas and comments. Might as well keep them rolling in. Just email me those topics. It's easiest for me to keep track of them there. And of course, last thing, please, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, tell a friend, help us grow the channel so we can continue to bring us even more great content in the future. The more we get subscribers, the more we get viewers, the more we can do to build the channel. And that's what it's all about, and bringing you more and more information. So I hope you've enjoyed this show. Christian, link the from, please. I will link to the forum in the description of this show when it gets switched to a video. I can do that. I can put a link to, if you found this on Facebook, I can put a link over there. The other thing, we'll probably start streaming on Twitch as well. I am using Restream. When I had lost the chat I was using, if you notice we have a different chat today, and I'm liking this because I can actually see the chat. I'll move my screen. You can see it right here. That is your chat. That's how I was reading it when I was driving, and that's something I couldn't do before. So I really do like that, and we'll probably keep this format. It works a little better that way. Can't remember what I was getting at there. So anyway, I hope you will join us, and hopefully I'll see you at the tomorrow night's race. That's what I really, why I do this show and make the setup available, making it as easy as possible to get you in on the races with us. So thank you very much, Dennis. I don't know if I'd even want the president job. Getting a little bit of congestion built up, so I think that is a perfect time to stop the show. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Thank you for the tips, ideas on changes we could make to the setup. I think we got a little more improvement. I think if we were to race this setup against the setup we ran at Spa, we have a faster car, and that's what we're trying to achieve, and we will continue to make better improvements next week as we do an attack the track and set up for beginners for next week's track as well. So I will see you. Lots of shows coming up, and in addition, we have the Sparco, I call it the Sparco wheel because it's right there, the Thrustmaster TXXW racing wheel review coming, and part 2 of my DIY button box using an Xbox controller is also in the works. So we have lots going on here at the Simpit, and I hope you'll join us for more. Hope you enjoyed tonight's show. Hope to see you at the race. This is the Simpit. I'm Sean Cole, and I'll see you on the track.